You're listening to Second Cut. This is the weekly podcast from thefilmmagazine.com where we talk about topics in film theory, history, and criticism through movie reviews and other good discussion. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who has turned on Sam and Kieran's audio.
Woo, first time for everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Sam. I'm the one who was tempting fate last week by talking about Mickey 17. I'm so sad it's been pushed back.
Really annoying Jacob by faking. I was seeing if I can fake him out.
Kieran.
I'm Kieran.
I can hear you, so you're not faking me out.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one that is still wondering about most things in life and a lot of things because this is really not my area of expertise. If you hadn't guessed.
Do you mean podcasting or movies targeted at women?
Yes.
Perfect. Remembering to push buttons is apparently not my thing. So maybe I'll force one of you to do the intro and I'll just push buttons.
Yeah, but how will we know if you push the button to allow us to do the intro?
Ooh, good point. I wish that I wish Zoom had a little red light that said Jacob pushed the button. But yeah, we are talking chick flicks. As Kieran, you're still not faking me out. I can hear. That's the problem. Is I can hear.
I wasn't trying to fake you out. Then I was trying to keep the singing of "Push the Button" down low to not kill coffee break.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll cut your singing.
Good.
Yes. So we're talking chick flicks, as you see in the title. But yeah, well, if you're not watching the video, Kieran did. By the way, let's discuss this. Inverse commas, guys, they're quotation marks.
No, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. But
it's not inverse; it's inverted commas.
I guess y'all do only use the one, whereas we use the double. So it's a different.
Yeah, which has made for me writing dialogue in stories annoying because I used to just use the one. And you'd get some markets that accept the one and some that only have the two. So I switched a couple of years ago to using two automatically. But it does mean then if you're trying to quote dialogue, you then have to remember which way round you're doing. And then it's like if somebody's quoting dialogue in a quotation, you end up like...
And it's different rules for academia as well, you know. So
depending on which style guide you're using.
Yeah.
And...
Well, when y'all are doing air quotes, do you just do one finger on each hand then?
I do 5 just to
spice it up. And then also, I learned that reading Tolkien, but now that I've read Cormac McCarthy, I'm never using quotation marks again. You can figure it out from context if it's speech or not.
I was going to say, if it's the road, you just don't use any speech marks at all.
Yep. So the reason it's in quotes is because the idea of a chick flick, the term to me is a bit derogatory. Do you guys agree with that?
I do. I mean, shall I give you the definition according to Wikipedia?
Yes.
That's bad. Do you want me to see if I can go get a dictionary? The Oxford English Dictionary has that.
Well, I did hover over the citations, and it was quoting like I think the OED. I think, but chick flicks is a slang term sometimes used pejoratively for the film genre catered specifically to women's interests and marketed towards women demographics. They generally tend to appeal more to younger female audiences and deal mainly with love and romance. Although many types of films may be directed towards a female audience, the term chick flick is typically only used in reference to films that contain personal drama and emotion or themes that are relationship based.
Because the weird thing is the 3 films that we've chosen, I would not describe them as chick flick.
No,
I'd call them like high school teen movies.
Yeah.
Something
The reason I chose mine was my very scientific way of choosing mine was to go onto Disney Plus and do a search for chick flicks, see what came up, and it was the one that leapt out to me that I knew I actually liked. So before I talk about it,
that's really funny. Kieran, you read some stuff about some of maybe the issues with chick flicks. And yeah, like we just, basically outlined, a lot of them are rom-coms. women get sort of pigeonholed into, ooh, this is what you like romance.
Yeah, so it was. I just quickly found online an article from J&MC Quarterly, number 1, 2008, written by Elizabeth Bain Morowitz and Dana E. Mastro. I'm going to get the names wrong. And it's written, the title of it is called Mean Girls, the Influence of Gender Portrayals in Teen Movies on Emerging Adults' Gender-Based Attitudes and Beliefs. Very, very catchy, obviously. And they did a couple of things, and they just wanted to see, essentially, it's a very early study, and this was like 15 years ago, so the science has obviously moved on since then. And they were just looking at, essentially, the idea, there was a glut, and I think we'll all agree, that for about sort of maybe 5-10 years, or probably 10 years, sort of around the year 2000, give or take 5, 6, 7 years either side, where it was just a glut of these kind of like teen high school movies, Clueless, Legally Blonde. We've got Bring It On here, 10 Reasons, Mean Girls, Wild Child. Eventually, you get things like Centurions, all that kind of stuff. And essentially, just looking at it, going, does it affect and do the portrayals of the relationships in there? Are they actually negative? Because whilst they were saying that these movies are meant to be kind of empowering for young women, actually, also there's a stereotype in the movies that a lot of the female relationships, they're all just backstabbing and trying to get up on one another and kind of socially manipulative. And they want to see, is that actually true? And then does it actually like change people's perceptions in the real world? So if a young woman is 15, 16, 17, 18, watching a load of these films, do they start thinking that, getting paranoid that all their female friends are essentially trying to backstab them, for whatever reason? The conclusion they get from this, and bearing in mind these are only kind of individual studies, they got people to fill in questionnaires, watch a lot of chick flicks, that teen movies, that kind of thing. From those studies, they seem to suggest that there was a very slight thing afterwards that maybe this is the case. And there was a comment from the findings. What quote did I give you? Although many teen films claim to empower young women, it is also clear that they rely on gender stereotype portrayals such as the Mean Girl. So again, this is like 15 years ago now, so there will have been lots more stuff that I just didn't have time to research, but I thought something would be interesting for a starter. So I think probably before we go on to this, and I found it interesting that all 3 of the films that we're going to discuss today were mentioned in this list of films that they looked at. If I can quickly go and give an example of the list. The following films were included in the analysis: Cinderella Story from 2004, Walk to Remember, Blue Crush, Bring It On, my film, Clueless, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, Crossroads, Drumline, Freaky Friday, Mean Girls, Napoleon Dynamite, somehow, Orange County, Princess Diaries, Romeo and Juliet from 96, Save the Last Dance, She's All That, 10 Things I Hate About You, Lizzie McGuire movie, What a Girl Wants, and You Got Served. So there's
I've seen so many of those.
Yeah, and the thing is, they go from like 94 to 2004, so all of those are in like a 10-year period. Why Napoleon Dynamite is in there, I don't know.
It's a high school movie list, maybe more so than like chick flick? I don't know.
Yeah, but then it's like it's got Romeo and Juliet in there, then again DiCaprio. But yeah, it just seemed interesting to grab this up and just look at the fact that there was actually scholarly analysis being done on these kind of movies, because it's like it's a genre that I kind of, because I don't go like for these movies, I forget they exist, and it's one of these things where I'm just like, oh yeah, girls in high school used to watch them like 10 years ago, and then I moved on with my life. It's not cinema, but it is.
I did read something about that they tend to be released kind of around Valentine's Day, so they consider like first date movies. Basically, if you aren't getting into a new relationship around that time, you're probably not going to go and see these, with your significant other.
Sam, you had an interesting point about what you think like makes a chick flick, an essential aspect of the feelings of it.
Well, yeah, I suppose push to kind of describe them. I describe them as cozy. You know, they invite that sense of coziness, kind of non-threatening, kind of comforting, and kind of leave you feeling good by the end of it. You know, I mean, I also found a New
Unless
York
it's
Times
where they die at the end.
Yeah. But I found a piece in the New York Times which was talking about kind of is there a way to get the guys along to see the chick flicks as well, and you know, I got this quote from it referencing another film from this genre, if you can call it that genre, which I watched this week. In Nora Ephron's Sleepless in Seattle, a weepy Rosie O'Donnell watching an Affair to Remember with a sniffling Meg Ryan, Meg Ryan, comments that men just don't get this movie, and the notion of the chick flick thus came into its own, and Hollywood has forever been fretting at it ever since, trying to recapture that box office magic, yet chafing at a label that is increasingly viewed as a marketplace trap. I mean, Jerry Bruckheimer was a producer on Confessions of a Shopaholic, and he kind of basically says, you know, that kind of you know plenty of guys should be going to see these kind of movies, because everyone kind of copes with like their difficulties with money and love, which he reckons are the two key things about chick flicks. You know, the stories about money and love. You know, you haven't got enough of one or the other, basically. I mean, basically, you can kind of argue it's a marketing gimmick, isn't it? You know, it's like if you can badge like these group of movies as chick flicks, as you know, we're targeting specifically for this audience, to get as many people in as possible, and then we can maybe use that the other way around as well to get other people to see it as well. Oh, it's not just a chick flick. I mean, it's a bit more than that, you know. And you kind of try to elevate yourself above this, you know, the term that's been used in a derogatory manner for so many years as well. So it's kind of it's kind of used to almost put your own movie down, but to also use it as a selling point. You know, it's a weird little.
Yeah,
It seems
I think
like a
of it.
development.
Oh, go ahead.
It seems like a development of what would have been called the weepy, you know, back in the 30s and 40s, which I seem to remember having to do seminars discussing the fact that the weepy doesn't exist. You know, and it's just like you get a semblance of all these different kind of connecting bits of iconography and put them together, and they're all labeled weepies, even though you get one end of the spectrum, there's nothing like one from the other end, but it's somehow lumped together, which seems to develop onto the, you know, we go to the 70s, 80s, 90s, things like Sleepless in Seattle. That I would describe as a chick flick. I don't know if it's just like the audience. I think the chick flick is kind of almost got like in my head, it's got like an older cast, maybe sort of 20s, 30s cast that's in appealing to kind of late teens going onto the 20s, 30s, 40s, whereas kind of the movies that we've all chosen seemingly are films that are kind of targeted more at kind of the young adult teen audience. So although kind of the elements of kind of the romance, the drama, maybe bits of comedy are all there, it seems different. Like initially I wouldn't put like Mean Girls in the same category as Notting Hill or something like that, you know, like even though kind of there are elements that are the same.
For me, I put a lot of thought into this. I didn't do a lot of reading, but chick flick sort of, it implies that the general market is patriarchal. Every movie is targeted at men, except for these. These are the ones that are targeted at women. It is a marketing gimmick, so to speak. But it's not just targeted at women. I think they also need to be the primary actual audience. So something like The Marvels recently came out. That is something targeted at women, but I think the audience was like 65 or something like that % men going to see it. It's not a genre. Also, it's a category, so to speak, of movies for women. Whereas, you know, the genre would be romantic comedy or drama, romance, whatever, which made me think, and Kieran, you will hate this, that we now have the elevated chick flick, which is women are now allowed to have movies that are not just romantic comedies or dramas marketed to them, right? You get stuff like Gone Girl. You get stuff like Midsummer, the Good for Her kind of movie. That's a chick flick to me. Like,
I was gonna say, are we going to go on the train that Twilight is a chick flick?
Yeah, yeah. It's marketed to women.
What elements are there in there? If it's in a high school, there's drama, there's comedy, and bits of romance.
Well, I don't
Okay,
think high
Scream
school
is
is
now
necessary.
You know,
if we're saying it's also the marketing strategy, then yeah, it was marketed almost exclusively towards teenage girls, wasn't it? So
yeah, well, and older women too. Like Kieran, you brought up that. There's a pretty broad segment. Like I'll talk about it with Mean Girls. It was written by Tina Fey. It's not just a movie for teenage girls, even though it takes place in high school. But the idea of a chick flick for me now is much broader. Especially now, like Kieran, you were talking about the stereotypes and how they affect people. I remember the movie Booksmart, where you have the two nerd girls and they are in the bathroom with like one of the cool girls. They're like, yeah, I got into Yale. I had really good test scores. And she's like, yeah, me too. And I still partied. I don't care. And it's sort of a postmodern, I don't want to say Gen Z sort of, but that's what it is, violation of like the separation between all of these different cliques in the high school movies, and showing like anybody can be smart, anybody could be this or that, and here's how you sort of mesh together and try it. It fits the sort of idealistic break down the barriers, but it does it without employing the stereotypes of those late 90s, early 2000s movies. And is definitely a chick flick. It stars two.
Okay, so at the end of this, are we saying there is a difference between like the high school teen movies and stuff like Sleepless in Seattle and Dirty Dancing? I'm going to say and stuff like that.
I mean, the high school movies, they're always kind of crossover with like that kind of coming of age type story as well, don't they? Which again, it's another completely different kettle of fish, really.
I think in terms of genre, yes, but not in terms of if chick flick for me is not a genre. No, like they're all lumped in together the same way. Like I would say Transformers and I don't know, a Paul Thomas Anderson movie are both men movies. Whatever the fact that we don't have a term for man movie.
Yes. Speaking of that, can you think of one? I've been racking my brain all week about this. Just
man movies are just called movies.
Yeah.
I suppose
patriarchal pictures.
Think about the Transformers stuff. Maybe like anything that was like used to be a toy in the 80s. Marketed towards little boys, and now those little boys have grown up and they want to watch big CG version of those same toys punching each other in the face and exploding.
Or slaying dragons.
Oh, and a Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I'd throw that in chick flick too.
No,
yes,
it's not a chick flick. It's no.
Yes,
that is on. No, I'm gonna fight you on that one. That is not a chick flick.
Why not?
Like one of the elements, at least I have in my head for a chick flick, is a comedic aspect. There's, in the nicest way, nothing comedic about Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It is a historical romantic drama, which does like. Are we
starring two women?
So what?
Yeah, no, I would say
mass mainstream appeal. I would say would be one of the prerequisites for chick flick, I would say. And you're not going to get mass audiences in all likelihood. Obviously, I love her films, but you're not going to get mass audiences probably go and see a Celine Sciamma kind of film. Really, it's definitely going to be like the more art house crowds.
What are your definitions for a chick flick?
I mean, I've already said it. It's primarily for women. Like that's really just my. And when I think of Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I don't think Celine Sciamma was making it like there's going to be lots of straight white dudes coming. Like, yeah, there will be, but like she's making a movie about a lesbian couple in the 18th century or whatever. To me, that screams movie targeted
and
women.
Saying that heterosexual men aren't going to see that.
I saw it. I love it.
To Magic Mike.
I'm saying it's not the targeted audience, and I don't think comedy is a necessary element.
I mean, do you think like queer audiences are kind of part of like that mass market appeal of something like a chick flick? Do you think they're in consideration? Or do you think it's generally like
realistically, Jacob, what you're saying? Yeah. What you're saying, Jacob, is anything that isn't filmed through the male gaze is now a chick flick.
Yes.
It's just a completely stupid argument.
Yeah, I'm definitely going on the more cynical edge of this and just say it's a marketing strategy. It was an easy categorization for these producers and to have, and we'll just we'll make something fairly crowd pleasing, targeted towards a female audience, really sort of Valentine's Day, and they'll probably drag their boyfriends along.
I mean, we know genre is fluid anyway, so the whole idea of genre is a marketing strategy. Take that, Aristotle. It is.
I just think we can't limit the definition. I like things as broad and inclusive as possible. So that's sort of where I'm coming from with it.
But if you keep broadening definitions to relate, they don't mean anything at all.
I mean, it doesn't mean anything at all.
No.
It's a made-up word.
It primarily aimed at women means like a majority like female cast is meant to be female empowering. Now, Assassination Nation or whatever it was that came out a few years ago, the like phone hacking like horror kind of splatter whatever it was movie is now a chick flick.
Why can't it be?
We have to have a female protagonist that suddenly shows women what they can be or whatever. Now, Aliens is a chick flick.
Why can't it be?
Because now the term chick flick means nothing.
No, it still means something. It's just broader.
Therefore, we have to retitle this entire video, and our marketing strategy falls down.
Well, we probably shouldn't use the term chick flick, and that goes back to the quotes. Because of the sort of origination of it, and us agreeing it is sort of derogatory. I think the best way to recapture it is to be more inclusive with it and broader.
I was going to say, I seem to remember me and you, Jacob, having an argument of what classifies as a text, and us deciding eventually that essentially, therefore, like a tree stump classified as a literary text because it recorded in some way information which could be read and processed information-wise.
It can be.
At this point, text means nothing. Which, admittedly, the more you get through academia, just in general, the more you realize the general concept, like postmodern philosophical concept of nothing is true.
Yeah, I definitely fall in that, and I think Derrida would be proud of all of this conversation.
Derrida and Baudrillard would be like punching the air at this point. Although actually we're on TV, so Baudrillard would claim we're not real to begin with.
Yep, that's fair. Okay.
I'm sorry for all the non-academics we've now just lost.
Yeah.
We'll put the required reading in the description. All right. Did we have anything else on the theory/definition?
No, although I am going to obviously reposit the question and probably put it in for everyone. Although we should get to James's question as well at some point, and then actually start talking movies before we go on too long. A brief question of the stereotypes, if not even just like gender stereotypes, but kind of racial stereotypes and stuff like that, and how they're presented in our three films. I'm going to ask at least for a vague point discussion on that because I think it's relevant to the bit read earlier. And then before we do anything, we should quickly get to James's question before we get on with our movies. And we've got one. I'm going to answer the first one. Which rom-com chick flick would work best with everyone but the lead replaced by Muppets? And I'm going to say Freaky Friday, but I'm going to leave you to decide whether Jamie Lee Curtis or Lindsay Lohan is being replaced by a Muppet.
I think you could more easily turn Lindsay Lohan into a Muppet than you could Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, that's a philosophical question. Which one is the main character of that movie? And is it whenever they're inside the other one's body or beforehand?
I was going to say, does that mean we then have like Miss Piggy with Jamie Lee Curtis's voice?
Yeah, what if they're only everyone is a Muppet, but they're only Muppets on the inside, so it takes it longer to work it out.
Everyone's just acting themselves, but they've been dubbed over by Kermit and Gonzo. Yeah, that one.
So one of my favorite chick flicks is Bratz.
You can't use the term now. Can't.
I can.
You've said it doesn't exist, so you can't use it.
I didn't say it doesn't. You said that it doesn't exist. I said it's just a broader term.
And you went, yeah, pretty much. So you can't use chick flicks now. Sorry.
I can. Aliens is a chick flick. You have convinced me. And although I don't actually think that is definitely more targeted at men than women. But yeah, I think it exists. But the movie Bratz, which is another one of these high school, that one's targeted at kids.
Oh yeah.
You could replace any of those with a Muppet, but I would go with the one who wants to be a singer.
No. Everyone except one is replaced with a Muppet.
Oh, everyone except one. Yeah, replace
yes,
all of
only
them.
one human character.
Replace all of them except for her then, because she's the pseudo main character of the Bratz. She is Hispanic, but her grandma is played by a Jewish lady, and it's a really entertaining. There's a deaf character played by a not deaf guy who is very obviously not deaf. It's very entertaining.
Yeah, he says it's entertaining. I say it's not good. Possibly the reason for that
It's
is
not good.
I was forced to watch it by an ex who claimed it was a great movie because she'd grown up with it. Which is another thing as well, that there are bad movies. If you've grown up with them, you have an attachment to them, then you kind of like ignore the fact that they're bad.
Yeah. I know plenty of people who still insist Space Jam's a great movie.
It's not. It's real bad.
So, I have bad memories of Bratz, which is I can't remember almost a single thing aside from picking out their wardrobe, and very great lengths.
We should do that episode.
Blank everything else out of my head.
You know what? Never mind. I'm gonna say everybody but the antagonist because she's easily the best character in that movie. She feels like a real Disney Channel villain.
Antagonist.
Yeah,
it is a Disney Channel movie.
She's the mean girl.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do Mean Girls and Muppets, you would have to keep Rachel McAdams, wouldn't you?
Yes, that would be hilarious.
You're putting Lindsay Lohan as a Muppet?
Yeah.
Which Muppet?
Kermit. In a wig.
Does that actually exist? No. What's the girl in the band? I can't remember what the Muppet's called.
I have seen Mean Girls many years ago.
Do you mean the Muppet Sam?
Yes. So the Muppet band, Dr. Teeth. There's a girl in that band, and I can't remember what she's called now.
Not Animal.
Yeah, I was thinking Animal.
Okay. Whilst you're doing that, I'm going to ask the more philosophical question whilst you discover that James got. Will the success of Anyone But You, will we be getting a rom-com renaissance now?
Yeah.
I have not seen Anything But You.
So that's the one with Glenn Powell, isn't it? That's done really well. Yeah. I don't think we've got it in the UK yet, but it's done really well in the States.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. I have not tracked rom-coms enough to know that it went down, it was ever around. Like, I don't know the state of rom-coms.
There are a couple of fairly big ones last year, like No Hard Feelings, of Jennifer Lawrence, that did well.
Coming out of the UK tomorrow, we've got Poor Things. So I haven't seen that, but I've seen the trailers. I don't know if that's a rom-com. It's comedic and there are romantic elements. So.
It's certainly something. You could describe it as that.
I'm on flickchart.com, which includes Licorice Pizza as a romantic comedy. So, yes. Big time No, I mean, I have not seen a really good sort of throwback romantic comedy, and I try and watch a lot of them. I talked about some streaming ones in a film magazine article, and they're so bland, really.
Yeah,
we're talking like proper like Richard Curtis style.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend Rye Lane from last year, which was my number 2 film, I think, of the year.
I did like To All the Boys I Loved Before. Sorry to throw that out.
Yeah, that was quite good, wasn't it? But yeah. I mean, I think they're always around, aren't they? And they kind of like most genres, they fluctuate in popularity, don't they? And every so often you'll get one that kind of really hits the zeitgeist and just does ridiculously well, and people take immediately to their hearts.
And then you get 5 more after that are never as good,
Ticket to Paradise came out last year at Christmas. It went straight to streaming with George Clooney and Julia Roberts, and I thought that was a little bit fun. There was also a J-Lo I guess romantic comedy action film that was really fun about like terrorists showing up to her wedding.
Yeah.
That also came straight to
Yeah,
streaming.
sure.
What was one with J-Lo and Owen Wilson from the
Marry
other year?
Me
Yeah.
Wow.
also came straight to streaming.
So the answer from my end is haven't a clue. Obviously, rom-coms is a genre I need to keep an eye on. In the time that I don't have.
The kissing booth sucks. I'll just throw that out there.
Okay, I won't
Not
go
worth
watching
it.
that.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's also like Tall Girl or something like that, and it's but I mean I'm sure it's nice if you're a tall woman feeling represented in a crappy rom-com on Netflix.
That has to have your attributes specifically pointed out.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, is that
Tall Girl is a rom-com. The ditched tall man is a horror movie.
Slender Man.
Is that the new home to the rom-com / chick flick then? Like
Yeah.
Streaming
services.
That's that difference now. They just don't get the cinema releases, or they don't get lengthy cinema releases now. They're just straight to streaming to be easily digested and then forgotten within a week.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I would argue that like a lot of Adam Sandler movies kind of fall in there, even though they do have a little bit of genre fluidity. But yeah. Cool. All right. Do we have any more questions, Kieran?
No, I think we should get to our 2000, turn of the century high school teen movies, as I would call them.
Not
Because
another
that is the
teen movie, except not.
Yeah, what he said.
Not another teen movie. But
And so, take it away, Sam.
yeah, so I'm talking about.
There's a quote in there somewhere.
I'm talking about 10 Things I Hate About You from '99. God, that's an age away now, isn't it? I still, as a '90s kid, I still think the '90s were like yesterday, but they really weren't, were they? I'm
Yeah,
so old.
over 20. Well, I guess 25 years ago now it was the 90s.
Yeah, Jesus.
Although
Yeah,
something I learned just on a very quick tangent, I just learned very quickly actually. The year 2000 was still part of the 20th century, not the 21st.
Okay.
Sorry, just you were saying like
Nope, we're not going on this tangent.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up now completely before this goes off the rails.
Yeah, so 10 Things I Hate About You, it's essentially like a rough retelling of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew, but in a high school, essentially. So Cameron, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's the new kid in school, and he immediately falls in love with Bianca, who's this unattainable, like supposedly perfect girl. But he's not allowed to date her because her dad's got really strict rules around dating, and he strikes a bargain with both his daughters that he'll let Bianca date if Kat, played by Julia Stiles, also dates, and she's just not interested. She's just, she's a cool indie chick and very kind of, got her own mind about everything. Doesn't let anyone tell her what to do, and just quite abrasive with a lot of people. Widely known as a bitch around the school. So in order to get around this, basically he engineers a plot to get this local weird kid played by Heath Ledger to pretend to date Kat so he can date Bianca in return, essentially. And it's got all the kind of classic kind of high school rom-com kind of trends. Very early on, he's introduced to like all the schools, like various kind of subcultures and cliques. He's wandering around. They're literally pointed out in like very obvious fashion. That these are the stoners, these are the jocks, etc. There's a weird group who wear pullovers and like to play golf for some reason. You get Alison Janney in there as the guidance counsellor who's got a sideline in writing erotic fiction. And you got a lot of really good kind of one-liners in there. I mean, I've seen this film a couple of times before, but I've forgotten actually some of the gems, like the English teacher telling the cool kid in the class, someday you're going to get bitch slapped, and I'm not going to do a thing to stop it. And equally, he says to Kat, who's kind of got opinions about everything, and he's basically had enough for her. He says, "I know how difficult must be for you to overcome all those years of upper middle class suburban oppression. It must be tough." And the classic one from Kat and Bianca's dad. This word of wisdom that you won't know what you want until you're 45, and by then, even if you do get it, you'll be too old to use it. Words to live by. So this film it kind of lives and dies on the chemistry. Basically, I think Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles are both really good, both in their breakthrough roles, and they've got so much chemistry between them, and their relationship kind of evolves pretty naturally, and you really want it to kind of work out between them, even though essentially Patrick is take it for a ride. Really, he's literally been paid to as part of this elaborate scheme, and obviously he's going to see the light eventually, and they're going to fall in love for real. But it's a rocky road to that kind of that outcome.
By the way, I just realized both of these male leads are in the Dark Knight series.
Yeah.
So I was checking to see if Julia Stiles was too.
Yeah. Funny enough, that's one thing I did pick up, and I've always thought they look uncannily like each other as well. Heath Ledger and Driscoll, they're like brothers separated
White guys
birth,
with long
basically.
hair.
Yeah, basically. It's nice that Heath Ledger actually gets to play an Australian in this one, because he's so rarely got to do that. Actually acknowledge his accent. I mean, not particularly sensitively. I mean, I think
got those scars from a venomous animal.
Yeah, it's got a cool kind of like indie rock kind of soundtrack. Like a lot of kind of a lot of cool tracks from back then. Definitely dates it. I mean, the first thing you hear in the film, I think, is Bare Naked Ladies 1 Week, which you couldn't get a more 90s song really. And it's very kind of cool and kind of knowing, and kind of it's very carefully selected group of tracks up until the kind of really goofy kind of point where it kind of loses that, and kind of when Heath Ledger basically hijacks the school PA system and gets the school band to play along, and he starts singing "I Love You, Baby" to Julia Stiles on the sports field. It's a nice kind of inversion of that. So it's actually, I think it's a really good rom-com. I think you like all the characters supposed to, you detest all the characters you're supposed to. Good gags, good kind of doesn't waste its time, moves along, quite a pace. And it leaves you with that kind of feeling at the end. You feel good for having watched it, and for spent an hour and a half with these characters, and you're pleased that it kind of worked out for them. And it's a hell of a lot less. It's still sort of problematic-ish, but it's a lot less problematic than the play Taming of the Shrew, which I'm not surprised it's one of the less popular ones to adapt frequently, because there's not really many ways you can do it without it come across as a bit kind of aggressive and icky. You kind of get away with this just being high school kids being a bit kind of led by their not really thinking things through, and just doing some really stupid stuff over the course of their school life. You make allowances for that. But you probably couldn't do a straight telling of that play anymore. So yeah.
Aside from doing Taming of the Shrew,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we do need a gay telling of Taming of the Shrew. You're right.
Yeah. As for it states as a chick flick, I mean, it's got the hallmarks. It's about falling very quickly for someone, and hoping that the relationships will work out. And I suppose teenagers, you probably you want to be either Julia Stiles or I don't know. Is Heath Ledger an aspirational character? I'm not entirely sure. I suppose he's a bad boy. I mean, he looks like Heath Ledger. He was a good-looking guy. He's got these kind of strange, kind of psychotic kind of impulses, like playing around with blowtorches and drills. Just randomly. It's a way to endear you to him, but. So I suppose there's an element of like that kind of trope of like I can fix him kind of thing. It's like he's there are always rumors floating around about his character saying, oh, he went to prison, he kills animals and all this kind of stuff. And it turns out no, he's just a bit troubled and a bit shy and can't really connect with people. And as you go through, you can't get to know the real him, and both characters both these closed-off characters gradually open up to each other. So there's an element to that, that I suppose audiences would want to see himself in that relationship and see that it can work out for people, no matter where they come from, what they're going through.
Sam, whenever they introduce all the cliques, are they in the cafeteria by any chance?
They're not actually. No, that they're walking through. They're walking just outside the school, basically. They're all hanging around by the front entrance, basically, on the steps and things. So. But yeah, the cafeteria is not the normal introductions. I mean, you've got them all sitting aside in groups in the cafeteria later on. There's a point where like these the nerdy kids have got to go and make a bargain with the cool kids. It's almost like a summit, kind of they sidle in and kind of get a temporary pass, to make a deal with them, basically.
Also, seeing Heath Ledger, or not Heath Ledger, Joseph Gordon-Levitt with long hair, it reminds me of Penn Badgley and John Tucker Must Die with the really long hair, which looks very different.
Did you never watch Third Rock from the Sun?
No, I didn't. No? I watched Angels in the Outfield.
Okay.
He's the kid in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice actually to have. This was one thing that doesn't happen very often. It's quite nice to have a high school movie where they're all just about the right age. I mean, maybe a couple of years older, but it's not like people in their late 20s trying to play high schools. They're all about like 18, 19. So they're almost the right age, which is weird because just gone over. I think he's 18 this, and he still looks about 12. He's got such a baby face on him, but it's kind of weird to kind of see him like driving a car and making out with people and stuff. It's just a bit strange, but. I mean, I don't have any kind of massively kind of profound points to make about 10 Things I Hate About You. It's a movie I enjoy. It's very, very watchable, very entertaining.
Sam, what does it say about femininity? Do you think as a chick flick?
I mean, I suppose
that was tongue in cheek.
Yeah. No, but I'm going to try and answer it. I mean, so I think at the first year you kind of it's presented in the classic way of like the classically attractive perfect sister. She's the most popular girl in school. Everyone loves her. Everyone wants to be with her. And the less conventional kind of alternative kind of girl, as the other sister, but. I think it does bring you around to the fact that just be yourself and things will work out. Don't try and be something you're not, and just be honest. It's got a moral to it, definitely. Again, more moral than the play, I'd say.
But no iambic pentameter, so.
No, that's they kind of miss a trick with like her speech at the end. Where the title comes from. It's just it's her poetry for her English assignment, and she just she basically just tells Heath Ledger's character that she hates him but she loves him. She can't forgive him but she loves him. So and she lifts off basically a mix of things she hates him for and things she loves him for, and it's so contradictory, but they're going to work out together. Rather than like the speech, that ends the play that probably goes on for about 10 minutes. It's they definitely whittle it down into the essentials in this version.
Kieran, how often do Shakespeare adaptations like stick to the Shakespeare? aside from the writing? Like, obviously nobody's talking like that.
I mean, like there are a number that do. I mean, obviously, even in the list I read out earlier, you've got the Romeo and Juliet thing in there. The 1996 one that I very regularly, because I probably made a good £500 of my income purely on tutoring Romeo and Juliet, have to tell people there are no guns in Romeo and Juliet. Even though obviously the dialogue's the same.
One of my English teachers always, because we did watch it in our English class, I think, when we we're studying it, and as a lot of English classes do, and she says, I never tire of telling this story of one of my students, one of my star pupils, failed an exam because he wrote, and then Benvolio pulled out his gun.
Yeah. Which is stupid because it would have been Mercutio doing that anyway. And obviously adaptations of Macbeth, the tragedy of Macbeth, the Joel Cohen one from 2021, is got all the same language. The 2015 Macbeth with Michael Fassbender has got all the language. So you kind of essentially pick: are we going to keep the language or are we going to completely update it? And you run with it.
Are we going to make it a teen high school movie?
Yeah, but then I think stuff like is it O? The adaptation of Othello from like 2001, I don't think does it. I haven't seen it, but I know it was a thing because guess who had to do an awful lot of prep on Othello a few years ago. So yeah, it's one of those things.
Nice. So anything else on 10 Things I Hate About You Guys? Not you guys, comma guys.
Admittedly, I haven't seen it, so I couldn't.
No.
Yeah,
I'd recommend it. It's a fun watch.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Kieran, tell us all about Bring It On. Kieran, I could see you like being a male cheerleader, honestly.
Is it the hair? It's the hair.
Well, and you know, I think you could be like a yell leader, you know?
No, as I was saying to the guys before, the first half of last year was with a subtitle company where I did an awful lot of subtitling for all episodes of Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, which is something I never thought I'd do ever in my life. And occasionally I do kind of flash back to that and go, after about 5 episodes, you just kind of get used to it and get into it, which is really bad for somebody that has a really big hatred for reality TV. Bring It On, which somehow has like 6 direct-to-video sequels, including one that only came out like a few years ago. And amazingly, because I just checked it up, was directed by Peyton Reed, who is that ringing any bells for anyone? Sam probably should be.
Just that it's a guy, and all 3 of our movies are directed by men.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Jacob,
the guy Peyton Reed directed the Ant-Man movies.
Yeah, somehow. I'm also looking through his list, and hilarious enough for me, he also directed Love Bug, the Herbie movie. And as my family are big Volkswagen Beetle fans, like, you know, my sister's got one, like the lot. We used to go to shows the lot. I'm just saying, Herbie. So he essentially directed a couple of rom-coms. He also so he did Bring It On, he did the Ant-Man movies, he did Down with Love, which has Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor in it. He did The Breakup, which has Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston, and he also did Yes Man. And then, like years later, somehow he came on to do the Ant-Man movies. I don't know how that works. I don't know how you go from doing a movie, you direct 6 episodes, I can see, at least according to Wiki, of a couple of series, and then out of nowhere, suddenly you take over from Edgar Wright.
Yeah,
I don't know
because
how this
unlike
works.
Edgar Wright, he was willing to do anything Kevin Feige said. He had no independent thought.
I don't know how you go from doing like, you know, you direct a couple of episodes of stuff a year, like, and suddenly out of nowhere, Kevin Feige calls you up and goes, "Hey, do you want to direct Ant-Man?" Like, what is this? Like, what is this universe? Like, in the nicest way to sound like James Gunn. Like, he didn't do that much, and suddenly he's doing Guardians. Like, what universe? Anyway, so Bring It On. Probably the most well-known name in it is Kristen Dunst, who 2 years later would go on to start kissing Tom Holland. Not Tom Holland. Earliest one.
Andrew Garfield.
No. Tobey Maguire, that's the
Tobey
one.
Maguire.
Name was gone. It's Spider-Man, and I knew it was the wrong one, but I couldn't think of the other one. I did not grow up with Spider-Man, so my apologies for that. I only watched the trilogy like 2 years ago. So yeah, Kristen Dunst in it, and it is essentially she's now been made captain of the cheerleading team, and I'm going to have to go to the character names onto Wiki because I've forgotten them, obviously. Torrance Shipman, she's now captain of the cheerleading team. They're the kind of white, affluent suburbs, mostly white. I think there's like, literally the token Asian girl in there. There's possibly a token black one. That's about it. And the new girl moves into town and joins the team. Kristen Dunst will eventually fall in love with brother Cliff, who's played by Jesse Bradford. And they go to do these cheerleading competitions, and Missy goes and takes them to another school. There's mainly black students there from a less well-off region of LA. And it turns out that the school that Kristen Dunst goes to, the Toros, that's their big team, the previous cheerleading captains, because they've won like the national champions for 6 years, have gone to this other high school and stolen all the routines. So they don't have any original routines. They're essentially stolen all the routines from black. And I can't remember what the exact line is, but it was something like, you come over here, you steal all our routines, and because you're the white girls, you get the win essentially, and we get nothing. And so there's the obvious kind of stuff about getting the guy. And she's got a boyfriend that's gone to college who's now sleeping with other people, blah, blah, blah. And she's obviously got to fall in love with the new guy on town. But then there's also the national cheerleading competition coming up, and they like hire a choreographer who's also been they do this whole kind of like fundraising thing of essentially the cheerleaders doing car washes to raise money to hire a choreographer because they realize they need new routines because otherwise they're going to get shown up. So they hire a choreographer, and then when they get to like the kind of regionals of this cheerleading contest, it turns out that this guy has been peddling the same routine to about 7 schools. So they're done there, and then they have to come up with more stuff. And there's all this cheerleading, infighting within the group and stuff like that, and finding who you really are and going forward. And all the time they've got this play up against this other school. And it's at the end, who will win? Will it be Kristen Dunst's team? Will it be the Clovers, this LA team and stuff like that? And I just want to read the start of Roger Ebert's review from when it came out, because he makes an interesting point that these movies as well, bearing in mind the age group that they're targeted at, they're like, they're high school girls. Let's be fair. That is the target audience for at least my film, probably Sam's as well, and You're Doing Mean Girls as well. So the large chance is going to be high school girls. Bearing in mind what's happening to high school girls at the time, he brings something up about it which kind of is playing with the age rating, because he quotes the start of the movie is Kristen Dunst's character is in a dream, and then she wakes up because it's turned into a nightmare because she was captain of the cheerleading team, which she's not yet been. She's dreaming she's going to be made captain, and her top falls off in front of all the people watching, and the little the cheerleading thing they do at the start. Roger Ebert quotes it to start off his review, and they are as follow: "I jump, you look, but don't you hump. I major, I roar. I swear I'm not a whore. We cheer as we lead. We act like we're on speed. Hate us because we're beautiful, but we don't like you either. We're cheerleaders. We are cheerleaders." And he brings up the point that it's. He said that there was a string of movies around this time that were kind of, oh, well, we can't have it R-rated, even though the topic, like they're teen girls in high school, like 17, 18. A load of the stuff there would be R-rated. They're screwing everyone around. All the filth that's coming out of their mouths. We've all been through high school. We know it happens. But you can't have that in a movie. So he goes, it's weird that it's straddling this line of doing all these kind of innuendos, trying to be as raunchy as possible, but still keep like the PG-13 rating. Yeah. So you have this weird thing the whole time where there's like occasional bits of like bad language, but it can't obviously go the whole way. There's and his review, you think he's got 2 out of 4 stars. It's like the stuff is there, and he wanted to see the original script, and I can see what he's going for, because there are stuff where it's kind of, it's there. Apparently, a lot of the other the cheerleaders call Current's main character a slut. So they've got the language in there, and at the same time, it's also really cheesy. She's a really quite cheesy character. She's saying, we're all in this together. It's a cheerocracy, and all this kind of shit. It's funny in places. There's a little bit of kind of slapstick humor. But at the same time, there's also some lines that are very poorly delivered and very cheesily overly done. The reason you watch it essentially is for the cheerleading sequences, just the kind of high octane, if that could be a thing, of putting on these kind of performances, these kind of showpieces, as it were. Which, let's be honest, if it was a horror movie, it'd be the kills. Here, you've got cheerleading sequences. And a lot of the reviews say, this is kind of what you watch it for. It's not 100% a great movie. It's passable, even for me. It's fairly nicely directed. Kristen Dunst is fairly well in it. The leader of the other cheerleading squad from the other school, who is obviously can't find the name. Obviously, who's the member of the Clovers? Isis, who is played by Gabrielle Union. I don't know what she's from. But I'll find out in a minute.
Married to basketball star Dwayne Wade.
Obviously. She was in Bad Boys 2, apparently. Somewhere. And in 10 Things I Hate About You. Impressive. There we go.
Yes, she's the one black student at their school.
Yeah, so she went from your movie into mine. Is she in Mean Girls by any chance? So yeah, there's some nice stuff there, and there's quite a nice scene where the Kristen Dunst has essentially gone to her dad to sponsor this other team because they're from like the poorer neighborhood, and there's obviously a constant kind of ghettoization. They are pretty much completely black. There may be 1 or 2 kind of whiter characters in there, but it's mainly black squad. They don't have the money to go to the nationals, even though they've made it through. So there's a scene where they're all in the gym kind of penning a letter to like a TV show host, kind of asking for sponsorship kind of thing. And Kristen Dunst's character walks in going, I got my dad to sponsor you because I want to go up against the best. I'm trying to make things right. And they just tear it up and go, we'll get there on our own. We don't need white people essentially helping us out, trying to make themselves feel better. And there's it is an interesting thing in there. And I won't tell you who wins at the end, but I think this is also one of the kinds of things that you can watch and go, is this trying to be good or is this trying to be white savior? But I think it's one of those conversations that you can swing either way and argue either way, depending on how you look at it, in the kind of way that you probably couldn't with something like Green Book. Because it's trying. I think it's got its heart in the right place, but then there's always going to be slips. And I'm going to assume that I probably shouldn't. I will check. Jessica Bendiger. Yeah. I was trying to see if the main character, the writer,
I was reading about her, and she was working at Spin, like a hip hop magazine, and she was like one of the only white writers there, and so it kind of came out of like her experience or whatever.
Okay, so she's a right writer. Yeah. So again, it is one of these ones that I think straddles the line. It is nice. There's the cheerleading squad there. There's been mentions that kind of there's mix of characters. Apparently, one of the main cheerleading guys. I'm not sure if it says he's bisexual or gay. But he goes. One of the characters finds this out, and they're in a car, and he goes, "I didn't know you spoke fag," and he goes fluently. And there's it's interesting that there's like 1 or 2 kind of ethnic minorities, non-white, in that main group, but it's like, again, this is 2000. They're trying what they can.
Yeah,
it's token, but
10 Things I Hate About You, I forgot there are a couple of like minor slurs just dropped into like everyday dialogue, which you kind of give. They're students high schoolers, they're just they
Yeah,
call it stuff. It's like you probably wouldn't say what they say now. It's nothing like really really terrible, but
yeah.
And
they're not.
from Mean Girls, Lindsay Lohan she lived in Africa, so there's the dumb character
Yes.
line, "You're from Africa, why are you white?"
Yeah. So I think this is one thing that all of them have in common. But yeah, it's not the worst movie in the world. But it's also not like I'm in a nicer way. I'm not going to watch it again anytime soon.
No.
If it came on TV, I'd probably watch it purely because I've watched it for this, and therefore I have an emotional attachment. Like, oh yeah, I'd watch it for this. Had to. I chose the one. And they did something at the end, which I think they should bring back in movies, which is that they had outtakes over the credits, which is always a win.
They did in 10 Things I Hate About You as well.
Always a win, and they
Yeah.
interspersed it. They recorded they got the main group to do a cheerleading dance for "Hey Mickey," the song as well, and interspersed that as that went over the credits. And there's just stuff like that that's fun,
The ones that repopularized those were one of the Pixar films in the 90s. Always had them, didn't they? Like animated
Toy Story.
Scenes.
Yeah,
yeah.
Jackie
And,
Chan.
yeah, but also it was always the American Pie movies. I seem to remember they always ended with outtakes at the end as well. They're often funnier than the movies themselves, unfortunately.
So yeah, it's there's parts where it's a little bit cringe. There's parts where the delivery of the lines is not great, and it's obviously just cliche as hell.
Yeah.
But there's little bits where they're trying to do something different. There's even when I say cliches, there's the bit where like the new guy walks into study hall, walks in, there's a 2-minute conversation and the bell rings because we all know like every movie ever, we get to the scene of them in class and the bell will ring in about 30 seconds time.
Yeah, it's almost as bad as turn on TV and the news has just come round to the tip, the most important plot points,
and they're automatically on the news channel as well.
Why do teachers wait to get to like the important part of the lecture when class is almost over?
Yeah, it's almost like the screenwriter doesn't know a way to finish the conversation and has nothing interesting to say and doesn't want to end it, so they'll let the bell ring. So yeah, it's kind of I want to say a typical like high school teen movie in that kind of sense. The cliches are there, everything's there. You've got the Kurt Vonnegut does in his Storygraphs, one Boy Meets Girl. You start off ordinary and everything's going great, something wonderful. Oh God damn it, we've lost the boy, and girl gets boy back right at the end. It's cliche, but it's okayishly fairly well executed cliche. There's bits of cringe, but it's not the worst in the world. And I do like the fact that they are starting to look at these kind of elements of race and things like that, which I think is possibly the strongest thread in there and an interesting one to look at.
Going back to your point from the Ebert review about them kind of being this awkward kind of dissonance between like wanting to be kind of adult-ish but not being able to go like the full the full hog, like 10 Things I Say About You is like the same. It's like there's mild language in there, but they're not really speaking like teenagers speak. I mean, I don't think you get like a truly like filthy kind of high school comedies like up till like even like Booksmart the other year. That was more realistic in terms of how they talked and acted and stuff. But
I think this is a hangover from like the YA. I mean, around the time also you've got like Harry Potter starting to kick off. YA kind of series like that I grew up reading, like Scott Ugly Pleasant, Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, stuff like that. By the time they're 17, 18, they're busy getting down and dirty. All these couples are getting down in the other rooms and they're swearing off the top of their heads. But you can't write that because there could still be like 10, 11-year-olds that have marathoned the entire series by now. So, and I think there's kind of a thing of that.
Yeah, and then like 10 Things, in 10 Things there's like references to sexual activity now. They talk about like getting off each other and stuff like that. And there's a point where like Joe Skolev's actually, no, it's not his character, is it? But his friend has a penis drawn on his cheek, and like you could show that, but you can't have anyone saying anything stronger than shit.
To be honest though, with Bring It On, like the whole thing is about, in the nicest way, teen girls in skimpy cheerleading outfits.
Yeah.
There's you don't really need them to take anything off. That's the entire point of this movie, and I'm sure that wasn't the case, but the producers obviously sat there and went, we have lots of shots of like 18, 19, 20-year-olds in cheerleading outfits.
So maybe the producers felt slightly less creepy marketing it as a chick flick rather than get your dad along to watch the girls in their uniforms.
Yeah, in the nicest way, Jacob. The US has a weird thing with cheerleaders and beauty pageants. That's just like anywhere else, they would be the authorities called in. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Just saying. Anyway.
Well, I mean, there is elements of that in Mean Girls. One of my notes is very sexualized fashion for the plastics, like it's short mini skirts and
He's talking about the Christmas concert.
The whole movie on it. There's a scene where Lindsay Lohan, she's wearing a strapless dress, but she has a bra underneath it, and apparently, that's like an early 2000s look to go for sexy. Instead of just not wearing the bra.
Know if that was the thing. I wasn't particularly paying attention.
Yeah. Everybody has a midriff shirt, but then the non-popular girls, they dress in more modest clothing. That's how you know who's popular and who's not.
Yeah.
They're the ones that will survive the horror movie.
It's not a popular girl if she's wearing a cardigan and usually glasses.
Glasses. Well, and while we've been talking about this, we talked about the stereotypes earlier. I've watched the movie She's the Man in the last week, which I really enjoy. Amanda Bynes goes undercover as a boy, basically, to go play soccer at a school. And it's very much like making fun of male stereotypes as she's trying to fit in with the guys.
So it's Mulan, basically?
Yeah. It's a lot like Mulan, but with Channing Tatum. And... her trying to like be a dude. What do dudes do? Like, I wish I had done that because it's really funny. Where Mean Girls, very critically acclaimed, very popular, well remembered, made tons of money.
The reason we're doing this episode.
Yeah, because the musical adaptation is releasing tomorrow in theaters here, at least.
I think we're getting it next Friday.
Yeah, Rachel McAdams went on to be a huge star, yeah. And Lindsay Lohan, of course, was already one. Tina Fey wrote the movie. It was directed by some dude. Who knows who he is? But I would say this is like Tina Fey's movie. She took a nonfiction book, The Queen Bees and Wannabes, and turned it into a story, taking from like her high school experiences, naming characters after real people, and she stars in it, sort of. She's a side character, but she's in a lot of it. And of course, Amy Poehler pops up, Tim Meadows. I think Chuck Lorre produced it too. So there's some like SNL alums and DNA coming in here. But it's very much an early 2000s movie in terms of the style, the music. It's got the song Milkshake about all the boys coming to your yard. And one of the jokes, because I talked about the sexualization. There's definitely a self-awareness of it. The little sister is like belly dancing to Milkshake whenever they walk into her house, because Amy Poehler is the cool mom. That's Rachel McAdams, Regina's mom. And so she doesn't have rules. She lets her kids do whatever they want. She brings up this tray of drinks. She's like, here you go. And Lindsay Lohan says, there alcohol in these? And she says, do you want there to be? I'd rather you drink at home than somewhere else. But the basic story is Lindsay Lohan playing Katie. She was homeschooled growing up in Africa. Her parents were zoologists. And there's a part where they show her little boyfriend in Africa. And she's like, I love you. And he runs away. And that's really the only love interest she's had. She's very socially out of the loop in American high school. And that allows for the fish out of water, coming of age, adapting to this place story. It'd be pretty much like if y'all got dropped into one of these movies. I think y'all are a little bit more familiar than her character seems to be. It's weird she doesn't watch American movies. They have those in South Africa. You'd think she would have seen Breakfast Club or something, but I guess not. But yeah, so she comes to the U.S. and starts going to a high school in Chicago, and she meets these two outsiders, played by Lizzie Kaplan and some dude, I forget his name, and he's gay, and Lizzie Kaplan, Janice is her character's name. She has been sort of marginalized by Regina, the head plastic, because she thought she was a lesbian and was obsessed with her. So one time she said, "Oh, gross, you're a lesbian. You can't come to my party." And there's a lot of that like sexual negotiation. I don't think that they're making it the butt of the joke. I think they're more pointing out the rampant homophobia in America, because this is a smart movie. That's something Roger Ebert mentioned in his review. It's smarter than the average teen comedy, and I think it holds up pretty well in those aspects. Although there are not many ethnic characters of any variety in this movie. It is a lot of white characters, especially the leads.
Actually, just on that very quickly, I'd just be interested to know what the regulations are now in the US. I might have to do some research. If you apply for like BFI funding, something like that, you have to fill out a load forms essentially specifying your kind of lead roles and essentially meet certain quotas of ethnicity. Guess who's looked into this? So it'd be interesting to see now like how that's changed from these times, and because now, like, so for example, if you're doing a film, if you're doing some like chick flick, yeah, I'm calling it that, chick flick teen thing in the UK, and it was funded by BFI mainly, and you're applying for them for funding, you'd have to say if you've got a main cast of sort of 6 or 7 girls, maybe 2 of them would have to be of an ethnic, essentially. I'm using ethnic minority, which is probably effective now, non-white, essentially, and certain members of the cast and crew have to be. So it'd be interesting to see.
Welsh doesn't count.
Yeah, it'd just be interesting to see in terms of kind of the representation when we move away from essentially like the token black girl, which is a thing. I can't remember if Girls has that.
Well, and it has Tim Meadows as the principal, but like I was sitting here racking my brain for like a real like female non-white character in this movie, and I can't think of. I may be missing an obvious one, but
Ten things to say about you. One of the cool kids is black, and one of the teachers is black. That's it, as far as I can remember.
Yeah,
and I think Bring It On by its premise kind of gets around that by having the whole other team being.
Kieran,
have a point to that one there.
Yeah,
Kieran, if we had quotas like that, it would be seen as communism, and we wouldn't be allowed to do that. So I think it's just something studios are more socially aware of because it's the right thing to do. But I really doubt we have official quotas because that.
I think they're doing it from public pressure rather than needing to.
Well, yeah. And also, I think generally artists are more conscious of that. Not the producers necessarily. That's more the public. We need to look good. But I do think there's people in Hollywood that like it's a genuine thing for them that they would want to be inclusive. Yeah, but anyway, so Katie goes undercover as a plastic in order to. I don't quite know what the goal is. I guess to. Take Regina down or whatever. That's kind of their goal. It's kind of a lame hook, but it makes for an entertaining movie.
Yeah. I think they're aiming to humiliate her, aren't they? It's sort of like a revenge kind of thing.
Yes, which of course doesn't work because Regina is an evil mastermind, and at every turn, she's a step ahead of the game. And even as Lindsay Lohan, begins to replace her and become the head plastic herself, well, Regina's got a trick up her sleeve. And at the end of the movie, or towards the end, all of the girls in school are fighting. And so the principal has to be like, all right, every single girl in this grade or whatever to the gym, and we're going to hash this out. And all of the barriers come down and everyone is honest, and it's a kumbaya moment. And it feels a little contrived to me, honestly. Like, the message is good, but the fact that there is a message of like idealistic, oh, everybody needs to not be in a clique and be friends with I mean, it's just not realistic. I don't think although I did talk about Booksmart earlier, I don't think the cliques that we see in movies are ever as extreme as they're portrayed in real life.
No, but they do exist.
Yeah, they definitely exist, but I don't remember there in my high school being like, "Oh, these are the cool kids." It was like, the athletes kind of hang out together, but band people would hang out with athletes. Like, that wasn't weird.
And you never see it where like the goth kids are so clearly marked. Like, the only thing they ever wear is black, and there will never be anyone that doesn't wear non-black. Like, it just doesn't happen.
If the goth kids are in band, like, they're hanging out with the other band people too, which some of the band people are like also science people or in art or whatever.
Like, the only time these movies kind of address that is when like the final goal is like the main character needs to put together a band of misfits for like the big performance at the high school talent show or
like
something
in
like that. I don't know. I blocked that movie out of my memory.
Oh yeah, it's basically a bad version of Mean Girls, where they have the big talent show, and this has the cafeteria scene where we meet every clique, and I have the cliques here, the actual human beings, the anti-plastics, the art freaks, the asexual band geeks, Asian nerds, burnouts, cheerleaders, cool Asians, desperate wannabes, freshmen, girls who eat their feelings, JV cheerleaders, JV jocks, junior plastics, which are at the end of the movie. I don't think they're mentioned until then. The preps, the ROTC guys, the sexually active band geeks, the plastics, the unfriendly black hotties, unnamed girls who don't eat anything. I don't remember them mentioning that. And the varsity jocks. Those are the cliques at North Shore High School. And, we're talking about the minority groups represented in the movie. They are literally just the, sort of addressed group. Those are the Asians over there. There's a couple of them that are named characters, but they both are having sexual relations with the school coach, who's also the health class instructor. And, he ends up running away. It's not like condoning that or anything, but it's a weird joke still. And it's also unfortunate that that's like really all we get from the Asian characters, is that they're making out with the high school coach.
They have to be kind of, ethnic minorities are different to us. They have to be othered in some way, and then we can focus on working as the main characters. We've addressed them, but they're not us, and we present them as an excuse to kind of get them out of the way to focus on the plot almost.
Yes, they're there, but they're in the background. They're flavor more so than centered and platformed. But what makes this movie so good and so classic is it's quotable. On Wednesdays we wear pink. That's so fetch. You go Glen Coco. These are things that people are still saying 20 years after release.
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Yep. Stop trying to make anything happen is a meme that exists on the internet. There's
get him, loser.
Yep. Boo you whore. There's so many. It's so funny in that sense. And I think the other thing that really makes this stand out to me as an early 2000s movie are the Family Guy cutaway gags throughout. So when the film opens, she's like, my parents were zoologists, so I was homeschooled. Whenever you picture homeschool kids, it's like, nerds or weird religious people. And it goes to these like little hillbilly boys who are like, and on that day, God created the dinosaur or the Barrington Rifle so we could kill the dinosaurs and the homosexuals. Which, also undergirds the awareness of homophobia very early on. But it still really doesn't like fully address it. And I don't think Janice is actually gay. I think she has a male love interest in the movie. And I don't think Damien, the gay male character, has a love interest at all. So, like I said, tries to overcome the stereotypes, but ultimately I don't know. It's no book smart in that sense. But all of the cutaways, they are pretty entertaining. Like they'll have a scene in the cafeteria where Lindsay Lohan wants to go across the table and tackle Regina, roaring like a tiger, and then all the guys are acting like monkeys, going, essentially catfight, but screeching and howling like monkeys, because high school is the jungle, which is, it's not the best metaphor in the world, but yeah, they are entertaining, but they definitely feel of the era. And I don't think I really have a ton of other points on this movie. Whenever I think of it, I really just think of the sort of core group on the cover: Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Seyfried, the girl that plays Gretchen, whose name I don't actually know, but I've seen in like Hallmark movies, and Rachel McAdams. And they're all really good. They fit their roles so well. And I love Rachel McAdams in this movie. Like,
you're looking for Lacey Chabert as Gretchen?
Sure. They all are super funny, but Rachel McAdams just has a really good demeanor, where she can be so nice but very cruel.
It never gets funny with her final like furious outburst at Katie, cut short by being hit by a bus.
Which I never noticed. Katie almost gets hit by a bus at the beginning. This is the first time I noticed that. So
I think I knew that was a thing. I just think they did that deliberately.
But it was really well received. Like I said,
an absolute killing at the box office.
Oh yeah. It was like 18 million and it made 130. So Roger Ebert loved it. Richard Brody, he called Lindsay Lohan's performance in the film the 11th best of the 21st century up until that point. And this is where she was really in her, he's of the New Yorker, by the way. Lindsay Lohan was in like her heater at this time. She, from like the late 90s to the early 2000s, is just making awesome movie after awesome movie. And, eventually she ran into her issues where all of the fame and childhood stardom got to her. But, this is a movie where I think she cemented herself into the American pop culture consciousness. And
the Freaky Friday as well, but realistically, if you said Lindsay Lohan to somebody, it's Mean Girls that she is known for. And like, again, I've seen it years ago and then bits and pieces in passing since, but she's damn good in this movie. It's genuinely like a damn good acting.
Oh, and one of my complaints, the hot guy in the movie, which every chick flick, it's got to have the really hot guy in it. The hot guy in this movie, I don't like his hair. It's like halfway to Justin Bieber hair from 2009, but it's in a really awkward stage. Like I remember when I had to have
Justin
my hair.
Bieber's hair is halfway to this.
No, twice this. I guess if you're haircut half full. So it's inspired, it had the musical adaptation. There have been like pop-up restaurants, all kinds of pop cultural references. The GIFs are everywhere. The quotes are everywhere. It's a classic of the early 2000s. And
Of the three, it's definitely the most iconic, isn't it? It's definitely the one that's become a staple of pop culture.
Yes.
And to a certain extent, when you think of these types of movies, you think of Mean Girls. Like it's the start, and then you kind of branch off for everything else.
Because I think both mine and yours, Kieran, they're more known for what the people in it became. Like breakthrough roles for like people who were just starting to become massive stars. Whereas I think Mean Girls, as is just
he's known for
in
Mean
itself.
Girls.
Yeah. And then Rachel McAdams goes on to do The Notebook, another iconic chick flick. which
Can't use it.
I'm bored by compared to this movie. I do like the comedic elements of this.
Yeah. I mean that was another route we could have gone down to discuss the subject. We could have just done Nicholas Sparks adaptations, couldn't we?
That's a future episode.
God.
Maybe Valentine's Day. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton more on this. It's a good movie. I'm not going to see the musical though. It's I don't know. I'm just not interested in it.
There is a Mean Girls 2 though, isn't there?
There is. I've never seen it either. I would probably watch the musical before I watched Mean Girls 2.
There's also a 10 Things I Hate About You TV series, and the only person to come back was the dad.
Well, in the musical, it does have returning, like Tina Fey and I think Tim Meadows.
Is Tina Fey still playing the same character, the same teacher?
Probably. I think she wrote that one as well, so very cool.
And I think the other thing is that all of these did actually fairly well at the box office. 10 Things, budget of 13 mil, made 60.4. Bring It On, budget of 11 mil, made 90.5 mil, and then Mean Girls made for 18 and made 130 mil. It's like these things. If you get it right and if you get in at the right time, it doesn't matter how good or bad it is, it will make a killing because they're fairly cheap to make as well.
Yeah, it's like Blumhouse horror.
So basically, what we're saying after all this, when all's said and done, is chick flick is just a way to make more money. Basically, you sell it as a chick flick,
or a way to downplay movies not intended for men, necessarily.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this episode. But thank you so much for watching, Greg. I see you there talking about hating 10 Things I Hate About You and something about books.
Yeah, he does hate that, doesn't he?
Hates Sicario and 10 Things I Hate About You. I'm going to get Greg's bottom 10.
Does he have 10 things he hates about?
I hope so. I'm not going to read it, though, because we're done here. So...
done here.
Yes. Be sure to go to thefilmmagazine.com. We're going to give you some articles that we wrote in a bit, but please support us. Go give us money on PayPal or visit our Redbubble store if you want stuff in exchange for your money. But we take it either way. Joe is a hard working dude, and we got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe.
And either that or buy the merch, and no, when we say give us money, it's literally the first thing and only thing realistically it goes towards is keeping the servers up and running, because we have to pay to maintain the site itself and all the names and all the technical stuff that goes with that, and that's where the money goes to. So you are literally helping us keep the lights on.
Every
so that we don't turn into a blog.
Every single image that we post takes up data. So it's very important that we be able to continue to support this independent magazine where, we're not making, we get a little bit of the donation at the end of the year, and we're not making any or tons or however you want to frame it money.
I was going to say that's only because our superiors literally force us to have
because Because Joe
it's our Christmas present.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy, wonderful editor. Everyone who writes for us is great. So go check out all of our work. But speaking of that, guys, where can we find you?
I'm at SSP Thinks Film, and on the Film Magazine at the moment. Just gone up today, I think, is my review of The Boy and the Heron, the new, possibly final Hayao Miyazaki film. Spoiler alert, I loved it. Everyone should see it on the big screen if you can. It's amazing. And it's really, really weird as well. Which, weird Miyazaki is the best Miyazaki. So.
I'm still waiting for a Miyazaki Shinji to collab. It's never going to happen. But
yeah, totally.
Ponyo with eyes going backwards. Hopefully you don't find me. If you do, I will probably be on an early 2000s cheerleading pitch with pom-poms. Also, at the same time, I may be writing articles and reviews, such as what have I got up? I've got reviews of One Life, the new Anthony Hopkins drama about Nicholas Winton, who's the British Schindler. I've got a review of Night Swim, which is the new Blumhouse horror movie, up as well, and I have an updating to my continuously growing Ghost Story for Christmas rankings with the one that came out on Christmas Eve as well. So lots of stuff for you to get your eyeballs peeping out.
Yeah, Greg says you can find him every week watching along, so go check him out in our chat. You can find me. Yeah, you can find me at Jacob Film Guy on the film magazine. I will plug my top 10 Lindsay Lohan performances article, and spoiler, Mean Girls is on there, because I don't.
I would have so laughed if it wasn't.
Man, the bottom 10 are not great movies or performances, but you know, she's got a very strong top end and then a very weak bottom end, and you know.
This is on her movie performances, by the
yes.
way.
Yeah, you made that sound very weird.
Sorry. I meant of my list, not of Lindsay Lohan's physicality.
We should probably get off the airwaves before this gets any weirder.
Yep. Hey, you know what? We managed to make it through the whole thing without anything weird until that. So
there we go.
Let's go, Glen Coco. Yeah. So thank you for listening, watching, whatever. Greg, goodbye.
Adios.
Goodbye.
We don't know, Greg.